I am David. I go by the name of Space David on YouTube, Instagram. I live in Brooklyn, New York. Anybody that's a New Yorker, I live close to Prospect Park. So right now I spend most of my time working. I work a corporate job as a product manager. If you're familiar with tech roles in product management, it tends to be kind of a busy role. So most of my weekly time is spent at my job. And then my free time, I like to get outside and exercise and just do things that are good for my body that kind of offset a lot of things that I do when I just sit at a desk and I'm hunched over and all of that. More recently, it's been a lot of running, and sometimes it's weightlifting, sometimes it's yoga, things like that. I also like to travel if I have the time off. This year, I had a chance to go to Morocco, Portugal, Paris, Mexico, Costa Rica. So I've been to a couple places this year, and next year I'm hoping to continue that. I'm checking my phone, by the way, because I just want to make sure I'm hitting all the questions and the main points. Cool, so what's my experience with YouTube? What do I make videos about? So this year I've made about 4 long form videos, and then previously I'd made about 2 or 3 long form videos prior to that, like 7 years ago. And yeah, in general, I've just always wanted to do more YouTube. I find it as a means of expression, a means of documenting things that are happening in my life, storytelling. I have just kind of wanted to spend more of my work energy creating and working on stories that I think can resonate with other people. And so I actually am okay if those stories aren't about me, which is funny because I'm still doing YouTube. But the reason I really want to do YouTube is because I think that the practice and the experience that I would gain from consistently doing YouTube could help me in those other endeavors as well. One of the goals I had this year was to work on a short movie. I actually got a chance to do that last month. It was my first experience doing that. I was kind of rusty. It wasn't something that I was naturally good at. I've also never had any production, or I've had no experience doing that type of stuff, but I'm kind of hoping that as I start on the YouTube thing, that if some of these other options open up, places where I can maybe work on other people's stories as well, then I'm really excited to do that. What are some of my current struggles with videos? Yeah, so I think in terms of talking about struggles, I don't think that there's anything I would say that's new. For a while, it's been perfectionism. There's the creativity gap, I've heard it described as, between you are a consumer of content, and so you have in your brain an idea of what you'd want your content to look like. But then when you're like me and you're new, my ability to create something is never gonna match to what I'm consuming. And so there's just gonna be a dissatisfaction that naturally gets created. That's something that I'm overcoming, as well as the other part is just the amount of time and output that you just have to put in is, it's something that I have to prioritize amongst my job. And I'm still trying to figure out how to balance the energy, or I shouldn't even say balance. I'm still trying to figure out how to actually put that time in, especially when there's moments where I don't feel like I have a lot of energy to bring to it. I have really liked, what would this look like if this were fun? For me, it's just kind of a reminder that this hobby of mine is supposed to be fun. And it is fun in a lot of ways, but it's also a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of looking at yourself in the mirror. So yeah, that's me. What would be a huge win for me? I've consumed a lot of content on how to get started. So I've consumed a ton of that content. For me, it's really, I need to get more consistent, and I think some accountability on that consistency. For a while, I had this goal to be able to upload weekly or bi-weekly, and I think that would be an amazing milestone to hit. I think that I'm also trying to take an approach where I'm less outcome focused with my goals and I'm more intentional focused with my goals. And so rather than being outcome focused of I need to have a video done by this time, being more intentional of hey, when I'm working on this video, am I making sure that it feels fun for me while I'm doing it? Am I making sure that I feel authentic when I'm trying to tell that story? I'm not trying to do something that has already been done or kind of just fits into a box of what I think people want. There's definitely an element of that, I think, but by focusing on bringing more effort towards my intentions, I think that might assist me hit those outcomes. But in general, even if I don't get that outcome of a video done by X date or Y date, that it won't be as crushing because I'll still have something I've learned. That's this intro. Yeah, I'm David. Actually, I'll say this as well. I haven't done this before. I changed my tag to Space David. It took me a number of months to figure out what I wanted to call myself. My full name is pretty commonly used, and so there wasn't a lot of options for that. I picked Space David because when I was a kid, I had all these imaginary friends that were also named David. And at family gatherings, I would just be telling my family about these stories of me and my imaginary friends. And so one of those imaginary friends was Space David. And as I was trying to think of a tag, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool because it's both a space for me, but it's also a kind of a hint at this thing that was a part of me when I was a kid. And I think a lot of this YouTube hobby for me is want to do things without thinking about them as much. I feel as a kid, you don't really think, you kind of just do. And so hopefully I can embody that. This intro is probably already longer than it needs to be. And yeah, if you see my stuff or if you see me comment, look forward to meeting a lot of you. And yeah, that's me. Bye-bye.